talk about something unconscious, shall we? Gaslighting. Um, Medical gaslighting. It happens. Um, I don't know if you realize it, but doctors, especially nurses, um, sometimes specialists, specialists can wind up with an ego, um, and nurses, can wind up with like anti-ego. They deal with a brunt. They are the front line of defense. They're like the infantry in the army of it, and don't get much accolade for all their work. It's a burnout thing, and it requires medical practice requires so much of a person, so many different skill sets. The bedside manner. It's a customer service job. Customer service jobs are not easy. It requires vast medical knowledge and training, ongoing medical knowledge and training. You're dealing with all different types of people, with all different types of personalities. You're sort of a therapist, sort of a social worker, sort of customer service. So much comes through their door. Plus the medical, it's not easy, and the things they see, and the things they have to deal with, and the things they have to not take home with them. It's very taxing. It's a very difficult profession. So, some people may not fit that suit. They may not be the best at all of the different facets that are required to excel. And people that have fought hard to try to get the basic foundations of what the fuck is wrong with me, so they can begin to work on fixing it to the best of their ability cooperatively with a doctor, and have experienced mistreatment, especially if you're mentally ill, complex PTSD, bipolar, severe psychotic episodes repeatedly. That's why I'm on antipsychotics, despite they come back to haunt me because they're on my medical list. I can't not take them, not after the last time. Every time you have a psychotic episode, you double the risk of having another one. And every time you have a psychotic episode, especially a long one, you might not come back from a psychotic episode. You might be there indefinitely, and that's, trust me, nowhere you want to be. Third, that every time you have a psychotic episode, you run the risk. There will be some residual brain damage and potentially negative symptoms of psychosis. That will go away. The positive symptoms, positive meaning things that are added, hallucinations, delusions, all the things you see. The deficits that are left over, that also are a psychotic symptom, that stays. So after this last time, third time's the charm. I didn't need any more convincing. There's risks to antipsychotics, to that type of medication. However, I almost lost everything in my life, including my life, from my psychosis. And every time I have one, this last one was a 6-month run, 3 months in and out of hospitals, committed. And each one longer, and more damage laid behind me afterward, and each one risks not coming back, and each one has left my brain a little more addled. I'm not the person I used to be. I have deficits. I have cognitive deficits. I have brain damage. There's risks from not being on it, and I never want to go there and never come back. However, it's on my med list. That really didn't help when I got physically ill. Further, if you've been traumatized, I have complex PTSD, a lot of childhood trauma, and continuing trauma. Like, my previous workplace, for instance, where I was being sexually assaulted by a supervisor for years. And by sexual assault, I mean, pretty much everything you can imagine, except, that. Anything less than that, that happened for years. He was my supervisor. I don't have any family. Worked there for decades and decades. Everybody loved him. And by then, everybody thought I was nuts. They called me the crazy girl. It's my nickname at work, Crazy. Nice, huh? They had seen me fully psychotic. So what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Who's going to believe me? Plus, I had no safety nets. I had no safety nets. But my job at that point, I hadn't become physically ill. I didn't have a disability for a long time. And at this point, if it weren't for the good graces of my partner, now that I have lost my job, I would be homeless. Starving, homeless. Medically just fucked. That's why you don't do power differential relationships. And that was never a relationship. But it, like a lot, just a lot. And so if you are a trauma person, you're going to be more prone to read in, be hyper vigilant, and if you're just generally overwhelmed in life, which a chronic illness can do that. Like if you've had a rough day at work and everything, you're going to come home and snap at your wife or your kids, more likely, correct? Or a friend or whatever, because your cup is full. Too much stress, not enough self-care, previous wounds being dug into. Do take this appropriately. This is not meant to piss you off. Hypersensitivity. You have to watch that. You have to watch getting quick to judgment and jumping to conclusions, because gaslighting is a strong term. And maybe shitty bedside manner, may be rude. May not be appropriate. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they just had a miscarriage. We never know what's going on in another person's life. And oftentimes, we don't give people the benefit of the doubt. We don't inquire, we don't even consider what they're going through. When people react not so cordial with us, and it really takes us off guard when it happens, especially when they're helping profession people, when it's like a priest or a cop or medical people, therapists, people you expect to be compassionate, to be safe with, and they do cruel, rude, or even gaslighting, inappropriate things. It takes you off guard. You're flustered, you don't know what to do. You often just react or cry or stumble over your words or try to defend yourself like I did last night, and explain why I was asking so many questions, and that, hey, if I'm getting stabbed and I'm going through the trouble, I called the instant ready care appointment and try to talk my way out of coming here. Was told that I had to. I tried to talk down my way out of getting shots at the ER and was told that I had to. I tried to talk my way out the whole way about the reasons why I didn't need it. And, you know, was medically advised like multiple times over, you gotta do it. Because I, you know, question myself a lot. You know, complex PTSD, years of trauma, and, you know, mental health issues. I run most of my thoughts through my own head and question myself a lot. Trusting my instinct, trusting my beliefs, trusting. And you get used to abuse. You get used to abuse. So there's several angles to approach here. If you are stressed and distressed and overwhelmed, which chronic illness alone can do that, adult life can do that. Life is complicated and difficult for everyone. Few things are guaranteed, but taxes, suffering, birth, and death. You know, when you walk in, and don't presume that, don't be too hypervigilant. Try not to be scanning as if you are a trauma survivor, PTSD, CPTSD, etc. You're going to be hypervigilant. It's a symptom. You're going to be on guard for the same type of behavior, just like people who dated somebody who cheated relentlessly and lied. You're going to be looking for that behavior in your next partner. Be careful of that. Bringing the ghost of the past onto somebody who didn't do anything. And I know chronic illness people might be a little, you know, it's the truth. Even if you experience past gaslighting and mistreatment, careful not to project that onto somebody's bad day, and be careful to take consideration of what might be going on in their life. As a bad bedside manner, do you really need to file a complaint? You need to have a conversation with them. Like, don't go in with your gloves on and your fists up and ready to defend yourself. But don't go in totally naive either. I was so flustered last night. Like I said, I ended up having to, like, I just couldn't believe what she said, and the way that she said it, and the way that she just shut me down, and straight up told me, "No, honey," with quite the tone too, hand on her hip, and, "No, honey," pointing her finger, but I got a cough, so I'm not gonna do it. "You're all right. I think you're just being paranoid." Smile and injection and walk away. Got my papers. I could hear the printer chatting in a way I could hear the tone, but I couldn't hear what she said to the other nurses after she closed the infusion area curtain in a snarky sort of tone. And then when my sheets printed out, because she asked if I wanted my sheets, and I was like, no, I don't need them. I got the patient portal. My partner's like, oh, I'd like them because it would help me know when your appointments are. I'm like, honey, they're on the calendar because I want to get the fuck out of there. You know, don't want to deal with her anymore. And he's like, well, I just like to have them. I'm like, okay, if you want them, then yes, we'll take them. Like I said, I could hear where the printer was not very far away, and talking about me to the other nurse. And then, like, when my printer paper came out with my medication and my upcoming EMG appointment and other things, all my, you know, all the bullshit they always print, they kill the trees unnecessarily to print the shit every fucking time. It's unnecessary. That's just a side point. But you know, she's like, my God, she's got a lot, doesn't she? Yeah. And what the fuck? What is that supposed to mean? You know, didn't say that to me when she brought my papers back. Said it to the nurses. Little laugh. Little sarcastic tone. Wow, she's got a lot, doesn't she? Fuck, I'm sorry. I would prefer not to. Trust me. And you shouldn't print my fucking medication list. There's like no information about the appointment. And it's just like my medication list and my conditions. I know those. Why do I need a copy of that? Why do you need to print that every damn time? Why did you need to keep insisting that we print the paper if you're going to bitch about it and you're going to mock it? You know, like, that was just like, that was rude. That was rude. That wasn't gaslighting. If you're unfamiliar with gaslighting, gaslighting comes from an old story. You should look it up, look up the details. But a guy that crazy made his wife. That's why it's typical in narcissistic abusive relationships. He crazy made his wife so he could leave, cheat, treat her shit, and everyone would blame her because she was the problem, because he made her question her own reality, her own experiences. The truth, that the lights were going off and on, the oil lamps were going off and on, because he just straight up told her they weren't, and there's intention behind it. It is an intentional cause to manipulate. It's not just bruteness. It's not just shutdown. It's not just bad behavior. It's not just dismissal. It is intentional manipulation. But it does happen. And it's happened worse to me than what happened the other night. Like I said, my antipsychotic medication, not just to suppose risks to my health, but at this point I've ventured cost-benefit analysis that the risk of a repeated psychotic episode is more danger. The negative symptoms I still bear, the cognitive issues I have functioning in basic adult life that I never used to have, completing simple tasks, it's awful. What I laid awake, and like I said, I nearly killed myself. I did some dumb shit. I stood in front of a bus, a city bus, middle of the road, with my hands up, because I thought I had superpowers and could make the bus stop. And I was so tired of being afraid and confused from the psychotic episode that I prayed to God, and I said, okay, God, either I'm crazy or I'm on a mission. The bus stops or it's over. We're going to figure this out one way or another. I walked in the middle of the road, put my hands up, and commanded the bus to stop. Fortunately, the bus driver stopped in enough time, barely, which confirmed that I was on a mission, unfortunately, but caused me not to die. I never want to experience that again. There's a lot of fallout, and I don't want to end up there indefinitely. So I take antipsychotic medication indefinitely. Unfortunately, it's right there. Like, they guard your mental health history. They should guard your medical meds. I understand why they don't, because they might mix with medical doctor meds, mental health meds. However, they should, because it gives a slanted perspective immediately. So, don't go in with your fists out. Don't jump to the conclusion that every sideways remark or expression is gaslighting. It might be genuine naivety. They don't know. They're not informed enough. Science is always ahead of medicine. You might be hypersensitive. I know you don't hear these things, but you've got to take other people in consideration. You got to see the whole context of the thing. However, I have never filed a complaint. I have been told things far worse than this. I didn't even know the process. I went back up to the front desk and I was like, how does one file a complaint or report a problem? I've never done it before. And I guess patient experiences line is the first place to start. According to the lady, I'll let you know when I follow through with this. I have been told I don't need a doctor. I need a better shrink. Initial appointment with a nutritionist that I was sent to from my rheumatologist, because some of my things were low. My L-carnitine was deficient, like it always seems to be, but nobody wonders why. Nobody digs deep into why. these things are there. They just don't. My protein levels were low. Other things were low and out of whack. So I was sent to a nutritionist to make sure I got like the bases covered really well. And I meet with this woman, and I just mentioned, she's like, why were you referred over here? I was like, oh, they just diagnosed me with RA and fibromyalgia, and I barely got fibromyalgia out of my mouth. And she goes, that's a shitbag diagnosis. Okay. Oh, again, just I flustered, defending myself, didn't know what to expect. I was totally not expecting it. You think when you're with safe people, they are safe people. There are assholes, from priests to medical professionals to police. There are assholes everywhere, unfortunately. Then there's gray areas. That, it's a shitbag diagnosis, and I was just like, I'm defending myself, defending my reality, my situation. I didn't give myself the diagnosis. I just got it like 2 days before by the people who sent me here. I don't know. They just stuck it with me. Like I was like trying to like diminish that label and like back myself away from it and apologize for like, why I had it, and like I just, I don't know whether it's accurate, blah 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 blah, trying to defend myself and my diagnoses because of the belittlement. And then she goes on to say, well, and I was like, well, I don't know if that's what it is or not. They're trying to get to the bottom of it. That's just sort of the label, the working diagnosis for now. And she's like, well, you don't really need a doctor. And this is within just a few minutes of walking in the door, mind you. She said, you don't need a doctor. You need a shrink. And it's like, holy shit. I said, well, I've got one. And I have a great one, by the way. Best one I've ever had. He's awesome. He doesn't forget that psychiatrists are medical doctors, if you didn't know. And then they get a professional in mental health, pharmaceuticals, etc., and training. But they're medical doctors. And my medical psychiatrist has not forgotten that he's a medical doctor. And so he's perfect for me. Because he treats me with dignity and respect, and not like, of all the people, my most cooperative, compassionate doctor that treats me with competency and has regular like discussions with me. My fucking shrink, man. How fucked up is that? They're more prone because they can't help that the inbuilt bias. They're treating you, and you're a head case. That's why they're treating you, right? Talk to me like a person. An intelligent fucking person who has a right to speak up on my thoughts and my own medications and adjustments and decisions about my own health care and mental welfare. And he doesn't react like in that way. He doesn't talk to me like he's a psychiatrist treating me. He talks to me like he's a doctor treating a patient, and they have a right to have a say. I'm not the crazy lady. It's my fucking shrink, And because he's well versed in his medical, he hasn't forgot his medical training, gone all shrink, and forgot everything that came before. He's perfect for me because he thinks about my holistic experience of all the things that I have going on with me before he makes any decisions. And my doctors defer to my psychiatrist. My psychiatrist refers most of my meds because I sign clearances and allow them to speak with my psychiatrist. And I want my psychiatrist to be in the know on everything because he's the best medical doctor I have. How fucked is that? Anyway, so I was like, I got one. Didn't know what else to say. I have one. And And she's like, well, you need a better one, clearly. The fuck? You just automatically feel the need to defend yourself. You didn't do anything. Because you're just taken so off guard because you walk in expecting to be helped and protected. These are good people, right? These are kind people. These are caregivers. And often even seeking help, diagnoses or treatments or something that's going to be effective, get you a foothold to help you improve your health for a long time. It can take 10 plus years to diagnose MS, lupus, Lyme. They're long. It can take years to get the diagnosis, multiple sclerosis. If I didn't mention that, just years to diagnose these things. Autoimmune conditions, misdiagnosed forever. So, legit medical shit. And until you got that stamp seal from a doctor, you're a nutbag. And if you get the wrong stamp seal along the way, you're a nutbag. You're a problem patient. All these inferences that are built into these especially stigmatized diagnoses. Or if you walk in and you happen to be a woman, you happen to be a woman of color or ethnicity, you happen to be on a pain prescription, God forbid, which I'm not, but every time I've had surgery in the hospital, they give me pain meds, and I've been in a process of trying to get them all removed from my shit. I've gone to the surgeons that prescribe them. I've gone to the hospitals. Every time I go to I'm like, talk to all the nurses, remove. It looks like I'm on like 3 different narcotics, and I can't get them off my list, and it haunts me. I get little lectures about how I shouldn't be taking all these opioids. I'm not. They're on my list and they won't remove them. They're sending me in circles, chasing my tail. So that don't look good either. And I've been trying to fix that. And nobody, so it makes me look like a drug seeker. That's another issue that I get. I'm a drug seeker because I'm on narcolepsy medicine. Like shit narcolepsy medicine. But there's hypersomnia, and there's only one insurance approved medication that my doctor thinks that I would be more well suited by another medication, like most other medications, than the one I'm on. It's the only one, because it's an unheard of type of hypersomnia. It's not excessive sleepiness, but insurance companies are not doctors, and insurance companies would rather not pay. So there's only one covered. There's only one I'm allowed to get, and the doctor has to fight every year to reapprove it for 1 year. They always deny it. So I have to take a less good medication than I could have if I had the more fashionable and known about narcolepsy label on me. You know, that's just not the way the cookie crumbled for me. It is what it is. So yeah, that lady, you know, and I was like, you know, still, I just go into like just flustered and defending myself mode. I don't, like, for things that are not my fault. It's not like I just got the diagnosis like 2 days before. I was just explaining why they sent me there. And then all that happened. Like I said, within a few minutes of walking in the door. And I was just taken off guard. That she said that, you know, I had a patient once, you know, and then she said that I need a better shrink. And yeah, I was like, I have a really good one. And I see them regularly, once a month. I see therapy every week. Working quite well for me, actually. Case management, therapists have been wonderful people. Great people. Great therapists, great people. My psychiatrist, best doctor I got. Figure that. Awesome. But, you know, I'm like, you don't know anything about me. I didn't, you know, again, you get taken off guard. And so then she goes on to say, well, you know, I had a patient. She said, you just need to, like, do do yoga and meditate, and you wonder why we're a little sensitive to that kind of shit. You should watch your stress. How many times have I heard that? You should watch your stress. I may appear flabbergasted and stressed now because you're making me stressed. You're crazy making. You're gaslighting me. Like, I walked in here with just like, I was just telling you what the other doctor told me. I'm not invested in this diagnosis. I don't even know if I have this diagnosis. I don't even know what this diagnosis means. They just hung this label around me 2 days ago, and I walked in perfectly normal individual, like perfectly level-headed, and then you like told me it was a shitbag diagnosis. It's not real. I don't need a doctor. I need a shrink. And I'm like, I tried, like, whoa, you know, and because I have legit mental health issues, like I said, my nickname at work after my psychotic episode was forever crazy. Cute, quirky, right? No, quite cruel, actually. My respectability, my credibility at work used to be pretty high. Worked there for 14 years. After that, nope. Talk about never living something down. Never have a mental health issue like that on the job. Holy shit. Yeah, just don't. So, I'm very sensitive to being demeaned or belittled regarding my mental health. You know, that happens a lot because my meds are right fucking there on the chart. Even if my diagnosis isn't, you know, who else? Why does someone take antipsychotics besides for being psychotic? And medical people aren't trained in what psychosis is. They don't know any more about mental health than you do. People think they do. They don't fucking know. They're ignorant about it, unfortunately. They don't know. And so they leap to the same assumptions that the layman leaps, which people are not educated about mental health. If you have psychosis, well, you know, that's one of the most feared words. You are a complete and total nut in every department, always and forever. And yeah, that's just it. And who takes an antipsychotic who's not psychotic, right? So yeah, everything you have to say kind of just goes right out the window, and they just see it through the lens from then on. Awesome. And I know I'm rambling, so I'm gonna have to stick this up on YouTube. I'm gonna have to be more concise somehow. Talk about all this shit in a 90-second reel for Instagram. But I just like, I had this patient that you know, she had, this is all like rapid Gatling gun right after we sat down, by the way. Like, I hadn't like spoke to her hardly at all. Just got out, you know, why I was sent there. And that was it. As I said, fibromyalgia, she went off. And, you know, and it's like, who, you know, she had fibromyalgia. She did the finger, fibromyalgia. And she was with an abusive boyfriend, and she broke up with the boyfriend, and her fibromyalgia magically went away. Yeah. Yep. I mean, I pretty much gave up at this point. I just went quiet, finished the appointment for whatever it was. I should have just walked out. I should have filed a complaint. A lot of things I should have done. I didn't know how. I didn't know patients' rights. I didn't know how to do that. I'm learning how to do that now, and I will let you know. But I just sat there through the rest of the appointment, just quiet, because I'm used to abuse, complex PTSD, trauma, rape, sexual assault, child molestation. I've been abused a lot. My boss at work, my supervisor. I've been a victim a lot. And like people who have been involved in domestic violence, we tend to go back to a domestic abuser for a lot of different reasons, but long story short, we don't see the red flags because we don't have a normal barometer. You have to experience the normal to know what the normal is. You have to see healthy boundaries. That's why parental modeling of appropriate relationships with your spouse is really key to your children. You have to see healthy to know healthy. If all you've seen is severely fucked up, all you've experienced is trauma and abuse, you don't see the red flags from other people. It's not like you're going out looking to be abused again. But where other women or men, because it happens to men too, will walk away when they see red flags, we see green flags. We don't know what we don't know. We've never experienced healthy, safe, and appropriate. So we are really deep in, and we auto-respond. We regress to what served us and protected us and kept us alive as kids. When those situations happen, you are triggered into PTSD, and that can be fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Fawn is one you may not heard of much. There's a name for that. If you are the kind, like me, who placates anything you can do to keep the abusive, angry, hostile person, to calm them down, and sort of like people pleasing in emergency, to make them okay again. That's what you do. They say how, you say how high, because in that moment, your life and limb is threatened. That's fun. Freeze, you just like a deer in the headlights. Fight, you react. You might become explosive and over the top. Freeze, you're just paralyzed. Fight, you react, sometimes too much, sometimes too hasty, sometimes overtime things because you're hypervigilant because of trauma. Flight, you run the fuck away. I've done that once or twice. I've literally run away from my own job before. That was awesome, because my boss, of all people, because it'd be weird going from like that to like, then now he's like my supervisor, and all the power and authority and normal conversations with a supervisor. That's gaslighting. That will fuck you up. Two different realities that you have to compartmentalize. And this person has all authority over your income, every financial resource you have, and pretends like that whole world doesn't exist. Like, it's just like what I grew up with. That shit went on, and then it was like, it never happened. And you had to act accordingly. It was messed up. So it's really weird duality to live in. I just fucking forgot my point. We're talking about fucking trauma. Blanking out. That'll happen. Yeah, that lady went off on me, and I fawned. I defend myself. I apologize for things that I just facts. Like, another doctor gave me a diagnosis. I'm here to follow up about my nutrition. Why are we talking? I can't, man. I just shut down and go into like trauma response of a little kid. It's really bad, dissociation and other symptoms, flashbacks, etc. But usually, yeah, I like placate the abuser. So I'm so used to abuse. In so many different forms that when things happen medically, I find myself trying to assuage them, just like yesterday, apologizing to her for basically implying that I'm both a hypochondriac and a nutcase. All in one little short sentence. She just shut me right down. Gotta admit, efficient, concise, but evil, cruel, bias, wrong, inappropriate, at a minimum, gaslighting at a major. I'm gonna say gaslighting, because, you know, her response to my questions, which I was asking for my fucking partner. You know, did she miss that part? He wanted to know these things because he wasn't here last time. So these are the things, and I know you don't know all of them because you're not a rabies expert. You are an infusion nurse and a nurse. So I understand most of these questions you're not going to know, just like the other nurse, and I have to refer to the health department, but he found all that difficult to follow, so I'm going to run through the questions with you. She got the explanation. Still, she was a cunt. I don't usually use that word, but seriously. You know, and her responses. No, honey. I think you're just being paranoid. Her hand on her hip. And the needle in her hand. No, honey. You're just being paranoid. That's like the worst way you could come at me almost. Because it hits my severely diminished self-esteem for my mental health issues. And the way that people treated me after having them so publicly on the job and elsewhere. And the cognitive deficits that they have left me with, which leave me feeling incompetent and stupid because I can't care for simple things that I used to really care for. And I have to filter my own thoughts all the time and question my own reality because I know that I've had a mental illness to that level that I have to check my shit. And as a trauma victim, you don't trust yourself anyway. You don't trust your instincts. You don't trust your own reality. So she hit me right where it hurt. And then as a medical individual who has been misdiagnosed and forcibly instantly diagnosed with shit that will save your fucking life, I fought for years to get a fucking gynecologist to hear me that I was bleeding too much. It was very, very painful, and I was bleeding like a lot. And it took years. By the time they finally fucking did it, an ultrasound. Nobody had even done an ultrasound. The gynecologist, fucking awesome. Thank you. An ultrasound. She went a lot. A lot of fibroids. Said that's probably the problem. They break and stuff. She said, I don't know. She said, let's just say a lot. You got a lot of fibroids. Big fibroids, and you're just filled with fibroids. Well, that explains a lot. She said, now on the rare chance we're gonna do a biopsy just in case. Now we're talking about, hysterectomy, uterine cancer. Yep. Well, and I had a giant cyst on my ovary. That explains some things. It took me like 10 years to get that far. Thankfully, I found a good one before I got full-on uterine cancer. Yeah. Shouldn't be so fucking hard, but it is. Especially when you're on antipsychotics. Like I said, you're a woman of color. It just gets the biases, the bullshit. Yeah, and I've gone through a lot of that kind of thing with doctors. And there's always a medical issue. I got mental health problems. Shit, yeah, I do. Hypochondria ain't one of them. I'm sorry I'm not stupid. I'm sorry if that offends you. I try to minimize my intelligence and my knowledge and my word usage as not to come across like I know anything about anything having to do with my illness. I play stupid. Not too stupid. There's a balance, but stupid. Don't use any big words. Don't you know, I watch how I dress. I watch how I talk. I try to do the utmost to prevent it. Because I already know my medication list and my female gender. And eventually, fortunately, I'm almost 40 now. So sooner or later, I'm going to have enough wrinkles where they stop fucking assuming. I mean, like, oh, well, she's old. She must be sick. That it's because I'm a nutcase, right? I've never filed a complaint. I got used to abuse. You get used to it. Your bar for what's acceptable for you becomes so much lower. You are hypervigilant if you're a trauma victim, if you're PTSD. You're going to be more likely to assume that something benign is hostile. So watch yourself, check yourself, take a pause, step away, think about it. However, I was leaving, and I was like, I just had it up to here with life. I can't handle much more. Everything. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like that's not the. I caught myself saying, it's like that's totally not the worst thing I've heard. That's not. I'm been treated far worse by medical professionals. Many times over. Turns out I have life-threatening illnesses caught incidentally afterwards, thank the Lord. And I've allowed it. Give them benefit. There's a difference between giving people the benefit of the doubt and tolerating abuse. And I understand when you are a trauma survivor, you have no experience with healthy. You're regressing to a 5-year-old and automatically reacting, and you're dissociating, you're having a flashback, PTSD, etc. It can be hard to know what those red flags are and when a boundary's been crossed. It's hard to even set a fucking boundary. But the minute I caught myself saying, I could hear it in my head saying, well, I've been treated worse than that. It's not the worst I've been treated. I'm like, wait a second, that's fucked up. I'm judging whether that's acceptable or not. To talk to me in a way that I know is not acceptable, not answer any of my questions, shut me down, and call me paranoid. Basically a hypochondriac and a nutcase, all in one go, one short line, and not answer any of my questions. And then like chit chat with the nurses about me and like, God, her paperwork is long. Oh, it comes out of the printer that you fucking insisted on printing. And then make a comment about like, you need to stop taking those Norcos after I already told her I'm not on any. They're from surgery and they won't come off. Please remove it. That it's not the worst I've experienced. It's like, wait a fucking second. Reality hit me. And, like, divine intervention. Like, if anyone else, someone, not me, someone without these labels, someone without these psychiatric issues, someone who wasn't used to abuse, a normal person, any other normal person walked in, and that lady acted that way. They had some questions, and they were told, no, honey, I think, yeah, you're okay. I think you're just being paranoid. It's like the arm walked away and then giggled. Would they be upset? Would they consider that rude? It can be easier to differentiate exactly what's happening if you take yourself out of the equation. Imagine that person behaving in that way, whether you're being sexually assaulted in the workplace, at home, medically gaslit, whatever the situation, to get the reality caliber on it. If you have endured a lot of trauma and your barometer is fucked, is to imagine somebody else you care about experiencing the same shit. Would you be upset about that treatment of someone else that you care about? The answer is yes. You should be upset about it for you. That's a pretty straightforward litmus test. Imagine somebody you love in the exact same situation, and is it acceptable? And I was like, anybody else would be pissed. The only reason why I'm not is because I've had worse. Like an abusive partner, Well, he only like slapped me, I've been kicked in the ribs. I've had worse than this, I've had worse. It's not okay. So never in my life have I filed a patient complaint. Nope. Because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to upset them. I don't know what's going on in their life. That day, like I said, they could be going through a miscarriage, a divorce. I don't want somebody to get in job trouble. I don't want somebody to lose their job over that. The one side remark on a bad day. Same token, it's something I need to learn, unfortunately, because of the labels I carry. The medical field is not always safe for me, and I fawn. I go into self-defense and trying to like make them not so hostile in any means possible, because that ensures my safety. I apologize. Not like whatever they need to calm the fuck down, and not be hostile towards me, like autopilot. And I don't recognize the punch in the face because I've been kicked in the ribs too many times. I don't have the red flag. I don't have the normal barometer for what is acceptable treatment from another human being, because of my previous traumas. And I don't know what normal is. My current relationship is the closest to a healthy relationship I've ever experienced in my entire fucking life. I don't people please in any other circumstance. But when people get hostile with me, yep. Whatever you need. Don't put it that way, but that's how I behave. Whatever you need. What can I do right now to make this person calm? Because I'm not safe. They're going to hurt me. And I may not live. You just go right back. Right back. Fucking horrible thing to do to a person, even without a trauma response. Horrible thing to do to a person with PTSD. A lifetime of trauma is to do that shit. But, hey, people have bad days, but you know what? I'm not going to accept that. This is clear gaslighting. Abusive behavior that other people wouldn't accept. When I framed it around, like, would any other person walking in here be pissed off? Yeah, they would. They'd probably be more pissed off. The only reason why I'm accepting this is because I've tolerated much worse abuse. That's not okay. So I went up to the front desk and very calmly and articulately I explained to the lady what happened. I wanted to avoid what happened. I didn't want to talk bad about her. See, still protecting her. I didn't want to talk bad about her. I didn't want necessarily everybody to know what she said exactly, but I was like, I'd like to, file a complaint. She kind of like worked it around, and I said what happened to them very briefly and stuff, but I will protect and diminish, because I don't want them to get hurt unintentionally by my ignorance, or my over-assumption. has a trauma. Don't fuck people up, man. It fucks them for life. Their barometer, it fucks them for life. That's why victims are more likely to be victimized. Yeah, sucks. But, I told her concisely and articulately and calmly, and she was like kind of in shock by that, and said that, she's like, I can call my manager right now. Like, she was more shocked than I expected her to be, and just affirmed that was some bullshit, and said patient line is the first one to call, and they will deal with it, and then I can file a formal complaint, and I don't know if you got anything out of this. I kind of got like lost. I'm a little dissociated right now. Trauma responses. Yeah. It gets really complicated. So, short and sweet. It happens. Don't go in assuming the worst about medical professional or partners or anything. Don't bring the ghost of the past project them onto a new person who's completely innocent and didn't do shit. It's not fair. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. They didn't do your past. Your past is your past. It's another person. It's not their fault. And with animosity and walls up and presumptions and all that other shit. 2, know how you behave. Are you freeze, fawn, flight, or fight? And be aware of it. Step away. Don't react to the best of your ability. And give a pause and analytically think about it. If you're unsure, because you don't know what the fuck healthy is, think about someone you care about. Or just imagine somebody if you don't have anybody. If this happened to anybody else, with 2 bits of common sense, use your favorite influencer if all you have is internet people, Would they be upset by this? Would they be offended? Would they be hurt? Would they, think, what the fuck? Should they be, if their partner were treating them the way my partner is treating me, how would they feel? What would they think of it? What would I think of it, them going through it? And that will help you, because often we don't see the issue with ourselves because we've been trained. But when we put it on somebody else, that's why we're so kind. Often we don't want to see other people suffer the way we do. And have that if you imagine somebody else in that scenario and it's unacceptable for you. So we're going to learn how to make a formal complaint for the first time in my life. And she just had the luck of the draw to pick me at the wrong time. When I'm far enough along and have a short enough rope left hanging by a thread to tolerate it, that it clicked that, wait a second, it's only okay for me because, I've handled worse. I'm used to abuse. That's fucked up. If this were any other person, any normal person, well-grounded, well-rounded, normal life person who hadn't been through the shit I've been through, who had normal boundaries and shit, they wouldn't like that at a minimum. They probably would have reacted differently. They probably would have called her out on it. Because they're not used to abuse. That's fucked. I'm tired of fucked. And I had a moment of God-given divine providence clarity there. And so yeah, we're going to call patient the patient services department and start there. And So, uh, don't go in assuming you're gonna get shit. I know this is up, but do be aware. And to all of the good ones, I'm sorry if you've had that bad luck of running across a lot of bad ones. It's a very multifaceted, exhausting, a multitude of demands of skill sets job to be a doctor or a nurse. The good ones are out there, and I owe them my life. Literally. Thank God for good nurses. Thank God for good doctors. Thank God for good specialists. Thank God for good surgeons. There's a few rotten apples in every bag. And if you're ever unsure, if you've run across a rotten apple, because your life might have been as fucked up as mine has been, think about anybody else having the exact same experience, situation, conversation, and think, especially if you know somebody you care about, how would I feel about them having this? How would they react to this? Those two things will tell you whether it's allowable, acceptable, or fucked up, and you need to address it. Okay? Okay. No one's gonna listen to this shit. It's really long. I need to find like a very short way to about a lot of shit. World's fucked up.